Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is xhairymuppetx, and we're going to be doing a Diamond League cast. Looks like at least one of these players is from Australia, with the GLHF mate at the start of the game. That would be our Protoss player, sKorcheD down at the bottom right, and on the bottom left we have Fusa, our red Zerg player, who I don't believe replied GLHF back. So yeah, if that's confidence maybe, or if he's just a little bit of a dick, we'll I guess we'll find out sooner or later. Scouting Overlord coming out, Scouting Probe coming out. It's probably a good idea because, as I've said before, you never know if the Zerg is going to 6-pull you, so it's always nice to find that out as soon as you can. There's really no reason for the Zerg, to scout any faster than his Overlord can move, because there's nothing that the Protoss can really get out and start attacking with. In the first 3 or 4 minutes, maybe one Zealot, but by that time the Zerg will probably have a Queen, so it's not something he's going to have a major amount of trouble with. So, getting well into this game, let's get into the production tab. Nothing too special there. We've got a Forge first before Gateway, and we do have the Probe hanging around here. It looks like he's going to be blocking the expansion. He's got a good timing on that as well. You can see the Zerg player is definitely getting the minerals up for that. He hasn't got a spawning pool yet. There he goes, there he goes. He's got the spawning pool down because the Overlord sees the blockage there. So after a while this probe will figure out there's not an expansion coming fairly soon. I don't know if he's going to go into any sort of cannon play. He's actually put his own expansion over here. So he's matching the Zerg for expansions, and he's decided he doesn't want to micro that probe along any longer, so he's just going to lay down a pylon and then head back. Now, I'd like to see if he does anything crazy, like another hidden pylon, maybe going for some proxy structures. I can't really say. I would have said proxy stargates, but he hasn't really got the gas for that, so I'm not sure what he's going for. The Zerg, meanwhile, is getting a macro hatch down here, so he may be going for some very early pressure in this game. Maybe mass... I wouldn't have thought mass Zerglings, maybe a Roach Warren coming up fairly soon. Macroing off 2 hatcheries to get a large amount of Zealots, sorry, not Zealots, Roaches, by about the 6-7 minute mark could be quite devastating to the Protoss if he's not ready. Meanwhile, the Protoss is pushing the macro quite well. He's just ahead of the Zerg, which is a pretty good achievement so far. Of course, he's producing probes off 2 Nexi. I believe it's not Nexuses, it's Nexi to describe that. He does have an idle probe there, but there we go. He's going to build some cannons. I believe this is the first gateway. He's just got the Forge before that, so he's going defensive, and the Zerg is just going normal, I guess. The absence of having his expansion, he's not really doing that much out of the ordinary. He might be going for some very fast units, but he's not really building that much. And he is building 5 Overlords though, so that's very unusual. That's 500 minerals worth of Overlords, and I'm guessing with the Zergling speed coming up that he is going to go for a massive Ling attack very, very soon. Perhaps 20-30 Zerglings with speed. He just wants to go in here and just wipe everything out. The Protoss has a fairly good wall. It's very good for Zerglings because they don't have a lot of area to attack these cannons. However, with 20-30 Zerglings, I don't think this will be able to hold it off. He needs maybe to get a couple of Zealots in the front, a couple of Stalkers behind, maybe bulk up because the cannons are the weak point. The pylons have one armor, the cannons have one armor, so there are a few weak points in here that the Zerglings could exploit. So we'll just have to see what happens. So there we go. He's already got 20 something Zerglings. He's building 20 more, and he's building a Nidus canal. So that's what the lair was for, building the Nidus canal. It's not a bad option. I mean, well, let's see, vision. He doesn't know about the block-in, but I guess he's just playing it safe here, moving around the block-in. However, the Protoss seems to know something. I can't say how he would predict the Nidus canal. He doesn't even know that the lair was coming up, so how he knew that the Nidus canal is coming up, I really can't say, but he's definitely going to stop that Nidus canal coming up, or at least know about it. The unfortunate fact is, he doesn't really have that many units to actually knock it down. He's got probes and he's got one stalker, and that's just... No, not quite. You got 3 Zerglings out there, so very nice movement there. And I think the Zerg at this point should just say, screw it, that didn't work, let's just go in. Let's just go in and take out the cannons, and we'll see exactly how he does. This cannon, he should be able to take it out and maybe lose 5 or 6 Zerglings in the process. Then you run through, but he's got a second Nidus worm up. He's doing some damage, but you don't want to forget about the Zerglings out the front. You want to do simultaneous attacks. These ones attack the workers, these ones attack the cannons at the front, bust on through, and then both sets go for the workers here. He does have some cannons defending that part though, so I think for the moment the Protoss player is going to be okay. And I think maybe there were 1 or 2 small chances that the Zerg had to get in there and cause some economic damage, but I believe those have passed him by now, and I think he needs to tech over to something else. He's getting a Roach Warren now. He's got his expansion up, and he's got his macro going quite well. He's almost caught up to the Protoss, who's been doing a very good job of building probes all this time. So we'll see what the Zerg player comes up with. I suppose if he's going for Roaches, he might go for Hydras as well. I'm not sure what other sort of tech goes with Roaches very well. I don't expect him to go Mutalisks because he's just not focusing on the gas at the moment. If he was going for Mutas, he'd have these 2 gas up and he'd be mining the hell out of them, and he might even be going for a 3rd base just to get the gas on that, but he's not doing that. These Zerglings, he's put them to work watching that expansion, which is a good idea. He can probably run in and start attacking this when he finds out about it, and it might be worth a look just to go over there and see, but he may be focusing on his 2nd expansion at the moment. And there comes the gas. We've got the, I believe that's the Roach speed going on, and it does actually show what it's researching when it's researching it. I assume that's the spawn lava. He's building a massive amount of Zerglings. I'm not sure. It may work. Look, he's got 14 Roaches coming. He can use the Roaches to bust down the wall and take a couple of hits on the Zealots. And if that happens, then the Zerglings can run through and start doing some economic damage. Even with the cannons, I mean, he's got 58 Zerglings, so that's going to be quite scary. Unfortunately, I don't believe the Zerg player knows about the Void Rays yet. The Void Rays aren't going to do much to this army, but the Void Rays are very good at taking down hatcheries and stuff, so he'll need to make sure that his queens are set up properly, and when that Void Ray army gets a little bit larger, he'll need to start concentrating on spore crawlers, whatever the hell those things are called. So this just looks like a nice jump from here to there, maybe so we can do a couple of 2-pronged attacks. The Protoss is getting very paranoid about the Nidus Canal. So this is a very good place to put a Nidus Canal, and he's confirmed that there isn't one there. And it looks like he's going to go ahead and move out now, maybe do a bit of damage. But if those Zerglings have the vision, I'm almost certain that the Zerg saw the Void Rays there, but it may have just been a glimpse. So I can't say, excuse me, I can't say whether or not. Well, the Zerg definitely saw the Void Rays there, and he's responded by setting up a Hydralisk den. So it's not going to be quite in time to save this off, but it does look like he's going to do something there. He's going to try and defend. He's not going to do a very good job, but meanwhile, you guys push in there, and this is going to do a lot of economic damage. Whereas the Protoss army, they're going in there, but they're being hung back from these roaches and these queens pushing out, and they're going to choose to move back to their primary base and try and save it. And I'm not sure if I agree with this decision. The Zerg will be able to do a lot of damage here before the Protoss get back home, and I think, I'm not sure, but it seems like the Protoss is going to come off worse in the trade. I would say the Protoss maybe should have gone in and tried to take out some of these workers, but really these queens and these roaches were holding them off quite well. So it just wasn't working out for the Protoss in that exchange. He pushed at the wrong moment. He cut off the Zerg army's way in, but he didn't know about this Nidus Canal at the top right. So the army got in behind him, and he left it fairly undefended, and he lost a lot of drones for that reason. And now the Zerg is getting 13 Hydralisks. Hydras absolutely own Void Rays, and they're also a pretty good counter against Stalkers. So as long as he gets a bit of roaches to protect them from the Zealots, then I think the Zerg player is in a pretty good place at the moment. He is one expansion down on the Protoss, which is always a bad thing, but his drone count is quite nice, 45 over 32, so I don't think he's in too bad a shape. He just needs to deal with this Protoss army. He needs to cut it down quite a bit with his forces and push it back, and then he needs to start getting some hatcheries up, start pumping the macro a little bit more, and then I believe he'll be in a fantastic location. So some nice force fields, but it's not going to help too much because the Hydras have quite a good range, and that overchargeability on the Void Rays to allow him to hit more on the armoured also is not going to help that much. Now it looks like the Stalkers and the Void Rays together have done a very good job. They've just overwhelmed that Zerg force. The Roaches in the front didn't really hold that well. I believe the Void Rays overcharging was basically to take out the Roaches, and they went down very, very quickly. And then it just came down to a numbers game. I mean, you can have Hydras being the counter to Void Rays and the counter to Stalkers, but if you've got enough Void Rays and Stalkers, then Hydras are going to lose. And they're doing damage here. They've got the high ground advantage, and they might be able to hold this off. And the Zerg has some resources, but he's going to give a GG here. He probably knew more forces were coming in, and that's the game. So very good job, a very interesting use of Nidus Worms. The first one down here didn't really work that well, but the second one up here to flank through while the Protoss army was moving out was a very, very good option. I can't say whether or not I agree with the Protoss decision to move back, but I mean, if you look at the units, the Zerg didn't take out as many as he thought, or the Protoss with 3 Nexi, I should say. He got them back very fast, and I gotta say, this gateway and these cannon wall here, which I didn't mention before, was very good by the Protoss. He made it very hard for the Zerg to actually take out expansions, and he had cannons everywhere, so it was good. And he had 3 Nexi, so his ability to build up probes again was very good. So even that economic damage that the Zerg did by running in even though it was an awesome move, it still just wasn't enough. And meanwhile, the Protoss didn't lose that many forces coming over here. He lost pretty much nothing, and yet the main Zerg attack force in here lost everything. So the Protoss had more than enough to come back out here and just wipe everything out. The Zerg didn't have enough time to get out a really scary Roach Hydra army. He had something, but he didn't have quite enough. And the Protoss is our winner for this game. So congratulations for sKorcheD, and I hope you've enjoyed this commentary, and I'll chat with you guys later.